Bring in former Assistant U.S. Attorney and Fox News contributor Andy McCarthy. Andy, you have followed all of these indictments very closely. Obviously, there's a lot of tensions on all sides of these equations as we head into the election season. Big debate coming on Wednesday night of next week, and the president will have had to appear for this arraignment, the fourth one, by 2 days after that event. Your thoughts on this, Andy?
Well, this is a remarkable indictment, Martha, because I think you mentioned before I had referred to how perilous it is for Trump. I don't think it's as strong a case by any means as the Mar-a-Lago case, but I do think it's the most enduring threat for him in that it's a state prosecution. So there's a lot of delay that's attendant to his strategy for attacking the federal cases because he hopes that either he or a Republican president could win the election and then either dismiss the cases or pardon him. That can't happen with respect to the state cases. So, you know, even though the RICO charge is obviously the bells and whistles thing, and I actually think that's the political aspect of this indictment, as you get down into the indictment and the charges get seemingly smaller, but actually much more tightly connected to actual election integrity penal statutes, those counts, I think, are much stronger. And to the extent that, you know, if she's able to get him on just one or two of those would be, you know, felony convictions that he wouldn't be able to pardon himself from.
So what about time frame? We were just looking at how dense all of this is. I know Governor Christie was on earlier today, and he was arguing that you didn't need to, Jack Smith and Fani Willis didn't need to bring the overlapping charges, both of them. Here he is on that, and I want to get your thoughts on both of those things after this.
Election interference is election interference. It's been charged by Jack Smith, and most of the time what you'd see here would be a state court deferring to a federal prosecution, especially if that federal indictment had already been issued. So I think this was unnecessary, as to Donald Trump.
Okay. Thoughts on that and on how many of these things could possibly happen inside the window prior to the election, Andy?
Yeah, I think Christie's wrong about that, and he's a smart guy. He knows federal prosecution, obviously. But the thing, Martha, is that the states in our system are primarily responsible for conducting and policing elections. So they actually have an array of charges that is a better fit, I think, for a lot of the conduct that's at issue here. Whereas I think Smith's indictment actually has to take laws that are not designed to deal with elections and kind of stretch them to cover that behavior, and he may have legal problems with that. I do think Christie's right to the extent he's saying that the RICO count is overkill. I think the RICO count is just a political story. But the other counts, I think, are pretty serious, the ones that really actually go to election integrity. What
about time frame? Which of these do you think are likely to be able to take place prior to people going to the voting booths in November of 2024?
Yeah, well, I happen to have been in what I still think is the longest federal criminal trial ever in the 1980s, called the Pizza Connection case, where we had 22 defendants. It is not easy to get 19 defendants to trial. I don't see how on earth they could do that in 6 months. And I would remind people that a number of the people who've been indicted here are themselves lawyers. There is going to be voluminous pretrial litigation in this case. But she may actually luck out in the sense that if the courts were, say, to strike the RICO count or tell her to cut down the case into smaller bunches, she may actually benefit from that because it may be a better case from her perspective.
Okay. Andy, thank you so much. Andy McCarthy, always good to have you with us as we watch this extraordinary story as it unfolds here.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.